Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a topic today based on some source material you sent over.
Yes.
And it's right at the intersection of two of the biggest trends in tech,
Mhm.
decentralized physical infrastructure networks, or DePIN,
Great.
and artificial intelligence, AI.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is we're not just talking, hypotheticals. We're looking at how one specific project, IoTeX,
Hmm.
sees these two forces converging
Okay.
and their actual, concrete strategic plan for 2025 to make it happen.
Exactly. The source material is this article laying out IoTex's vision for the year.
Hmm.
They're basically presenting it as the time they plan to, well, aggressively build the bridge between DePIN and AI.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about things that honestly sound a bit sci-fi. Physical AI, sentient agents.
Yeah, catches your attention, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really get under the hood, understand why they believe this convergence is the next big thing, the next frontier, and what their key initiatives actually are to build it.
Hmm.
What are the specific steps? What could it mean for tech and like our connection to the physical world?
It gives us something really tangible to look at. It's one thing to say, oh, DePIN and AI will merge, but looking at a detailed strategy, that lets us explore how they see it happening on a large scale.
All right, buckle up then. So kicking us off, the article starts with a pretty bold claim. IoTeX is straight up declaring 2025 the year of DePIN X AI.
Yeah.
And they're positioning themselves as leaders driving what they call the most promising frontiers for technology today.
It's a strong statement, and they try to anchor this claim by referencing major tech players. Apparently, even giants like NVIDIA view physical AI.
Hmm.
The idea of AI interacting directly with the real world as like the final frontier for artificial intelligence. It's about getting AI out of just the purely digital box.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, AI has become incredibly powerful in the digital realm, crunching data, generating text, images.
Of course.
But the article points out this big bottleneck. For AI to actually do things in the real world, it needs reliable, real-time data from the real world.
Exactly.
And right now, that connection between digital AI and our physical environment, they describe it as nascent and unreliable. It's the missing link.
And this is precisely where they see DePIN playing this huge transformative role.
Okay.
The source highlights that DePIN networks, they incentivize tons of people and businesses to deploy physical devices, sensors, cameras, machines reporting data, all that stuff.
Crowdsourcing the hardware?
Exactly. And this creates a way to collect just immense amounts of real-world data at scale, quickly, exactly what AI models are hungry for.
I love the analogy the article uses here. It says DePIN acts as AI's multidimensional sensory organs.
That's a great way to put it.
It's not just feeding data. It's like giving AI actual senses for the physical world.
Precisely. And the desired outcome here is really powerful. It allows AI to move beyond just theoretical calculations based on maybe old or flaky data.
Right.
The source envisions sentient AI agents, AI that can produce truly context-driven insights based on what's happening right now physically, and physical AI systems that can reliably perceive, navigate, maybe even deliver services in the physical world.
Wow.
Think about, autonomous systems, genuinely smart cities, or even personalized environmental controls, all powered by this kind of real-world awareness.
So taking AI from being this, powerful brain in the cloud to something that can actually sense, understand, and interact with the environment around us, that's huge.
And importantly, their history is relevant here. IoTeX has always focused on what they call sense and verify.
Okay.
Their core tech, things like IOID for device identity and a W3B stream for processing device data, it's built around making sure that real-world data is trustworthy.
Verifiable.
Exactly. The source emphasizes this foundation is critical because the data feeding these future physical AI systems needs to be crypto-anchored and verifiable. You just can't have reliable AI action in the physical world based on potentially faked or manipulated data.
Makes perfect sense. Garbage in, garbage out, especially when the physical world is involved. Okay, so let's dig into how they actually plan to build this bridge. Their first core initiative for 2025 seems to focus directly on this dependence AI fusion, enabling those physical AI and sentient agents we talked about.
That's right. And this involves them sort of expanding their scope in the tech value chain.
How so?
Well, they started with sense and verify, connecting devices, making data verifiable. Now they're building infrastructure specifically designed for developers working across the next stages: train, model, and automate.
Okay,
They're basically providing the tools to build the actual AI that uses all that DePIN data.
got it. And the key piece of tech enabling this is called QuickSilver.
Yep, QuickSilver. The article describes it as an open source framework. It's an evolution of their earlier W3B stream tech,
Okay.
but specifically designed to connect large language models, LLMs, which are, everywhere in AI right now with these DePIN networks.
Just like the middleware
Yeah.
layer, the connector.
Pretty much. Think of QuickSilver as the thing designed to take that real-time, verifiable data stream from all those DePIN devices, the eyes and ears,
Right.
and make it accessible and usable by LLMs or other AI models. This lets AI apps not only get context-aware data, but maybe even trigger actions back through the DePIN network.
Oh, interesting. So enabling interaction with the physical world, too.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
They even mention an example application called Bino AI built using this.
So it sounds like it's about making that connection, the one they called nascent and unreliable, making it robust and programmable. What's the status? Is this just on paper?
No, not at all. The source says they actually had a beta launch back in January 2025,
Oh, wow.
and the testnet is targeted for Q1 2025. So this is actively being built and, tested right now.
Okay, so it's real. And they're already thinking about how developers will use this in the wider ecosystem.
Definitely. The article mentions that projects using QuickSilver will be able to launch tokens easily across multiple major chains, think Solana, Ethereum, and their own IoTeX L1. And it'll have native integration into tools developers use, like DePINscan.io.
That cross-chain part seems important.
It's significant, yeah, because the DePIN world is, well, it's inherently multi-chain. You've got projects building everywhere.
Makes sense.
So by making QuickSilver and the data it handles accessible across chains, they lower the barrier for developers. It doesn't matter as much where their DePIN project lives. They can potentially tap into this to build AI applications on top of that physical data.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Their second big initiative is a really clear geographical strategy, a major push into the U.S. market.
Mm-hmm.
The article makes a point of their origins, saying they were made in the USA, Silicon Valley, back in 2017.
Yeah, and this seems like a pretty strategic response to how things are evolving. They seem to believe the U.S. market is maturing quickly,
Okay.
and that clearer regulations, or at least the prospect of clearer regulations, could really unlock significant innovation.
Yeah.
They specifically mention things like a potential U.S. Bitcoin ETF getting approved, more mainstream media coverage. Basically signs that the U.S. is becoming, more receptive or at least structured for crypto and related tech.
Okay, so what does a major U.S. push actually look like in their plan? It sounds like it's got to be more than just like getting listed on a couple more exchanges.
Oh, much more. The source outlines a really multi-pronged approach. It's quite comprehensive.
Like what?
Okay, so first, engaging institutions in retail. This means partnering with major U.S. platforms, financial players. They actually list names like Grayscale, Coinbase, Kraken, Robinhood.
Wow, big names.
Yeah, and even payment systems like PayPal and Venmo. The goal seems to be making their token, IoTeX, much more accessible to a broad U.S. audience, both individuals and maybe bigger institutions.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Second, mainstream media outreach, actively trying to get presence in widely read or viewed outlets. They mention FOX News and USA Today specifically.
Going for broader awareness.
Exactly. The goal is clearly to increase public awareness and, educate people beyond the usual crypto crowd about what they're doing, the potential of this DePIN plus AI thing.
All right.
Third, tech and infrastructure collaborations. This is super important for the DePIN side. They're prioritizing partnerships with U.S.-based DePIN and AI companies, sure, but also engaging with established sectors. Think telecommunications, automotive, energy.
Trying to bridge into traditional industries.
Yes, the ambition is to facilitate these large-scale collaborations. They even mention the Helium T-Mobile partnership as a kind of model.
Okay.
They list existing or target partners like Ripple, Hedera, Helium, Render, GeoNet, Demo, plus that cross-chain expansion to Solana, Ethereum, Base we talked about.
Got it.
Fourth, regulatory engagement. This is interesting. They proactively joined the Blockchain Association, which is a pretty significant advocacy group in D.C.
Okay, so not just waiting for rules, but trying to help shape them.
Seems like it. The source says they aim to collaborate with regulators on policy areas like decentralized compliance, tokenization of real-world assets, equitable access. basically trying to guide regulation towards being sensible and innovation-friendly.
That's proactive. And
Finally, increasing physical presence. Just doing more stuff on the ground.
Yeah.
Hosting more of their R3DO World events. These are their big gatherings focused on DePIN and real-world applications in major U.S. cities like San Francisco, New York, Austin.
Okay, wow. That is a comprehensive strategy. It really covers everything from token access to regulation to partnerships with big industry players.
Absolutely. A strong presence in a major market like the U.S., especially one where regulatory clarity seems to be improving, however slowly. It's strategically vital if you want to scale adoption, get institutional interest, and just build trust.
Yeah.
It positions them not just as some abstract tech project, but as a player engaging with the broader economic and political landscape.
Okay, this next initiative is, well, it's something I haven't really seen many other projects propose quite like this. They're talking about setting up a DePIN plus AI strategic reserve.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique move.
They explicitly mention inspiration from, like, national strategic reserves or even the idea floating around of a U.S. Bitcoin reserve.
Right. And according to the source, the main goals are twofold. One, to support and strengthen the whole decentralized ecosystem.
Okay.
And two, importantly, to safeguard wealth for people holding their token, IoTeX. They kind of envision it as this long-term vault holding valuable assets.
Interesting. So how would this reserve actually get funded? What's in it?
Well, the plan, and this is subject to community governance approval, there's an IIP proposal coming, they say, is to start the reserve with Bitcoin.
Okay, Bitcoin first.
Yeah. They propose allocating a slice of their own IoTX treasury as collateral to basically acquire wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC, or maybe Coinbase Bitcoin, CBBTC, and then hold these securely in a smart contract.
So using their own token's value to acquire what many see as, like, the store of value asset in crypto.
Pretty much.
But what about the DePIN plus AI part of the name?
Yeah.
It's not just Bitcoin, right?
Right. That refers to the rest of the planned portfolio. The reserve is meant to hold a curated mix of what they call high-conviction DePIN and AI assets.
Such as?
They give examples. It includes established projects like Render, Akash, Helium,
We get known players.
potentially synthetic versions of traditional tech giants like NVIDIA and Google, where possible, they say.
Whoa, synthetics too.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle. And also promising emerging protocols in the DePIN AI space. They mention names like GEOD, Dymo, Nubula, Qualu.
Huh. That's a really fascinating blend. You've got crypto blue chips, established DePIN AI players, emerging projects, and maybe even exposure to traditional tech stocks via synthetics.
Exactly. It sounds like they're trying to build this diversified portfolio that really represents the whole convergence theme they're focused on.
How does the source frame it?
They frame it as combining, blue chip stability with the potential for high growth from those emerging projects.
Okay. And critically, how is this thing managed? Who decides what goes in or out?
That's key. The governance model for this reserve is intended to be fully DAO-driven.
Community control.
Yep. Any decisions about managing the assets, allocating funds, growing the reserve, it would all have to go through community proposals and voting.
That definitely aligns it with the whole decentralized idea, making sure the community has direct control over this strategic asset base.
Absolutely. And they also state a commitment to transparency, regular reports, updates, that kind of thing.
Which you'd absolutely need for something like this.
Oh, yeah. Transparency is non-negotiable for this kind of treasury or reserve to work and actually build trust with token holders and the wider community. Seeing the holdings, seeing how decisions get made democratically, that's essential.
All right, finally, their fourth major initiative seems to focus internally on their community. The article really emphasizes building with the community, not just for them, which, seems crucial for any truly decentralized network.
Exactly right. A decentralized network is its community, essentially. So they highlight several ways they plan to empower and engage their community more in 2025.
Okay, like what are they planning?
Well, first, they're aiming for more activities and rewards, just generally increasing engagement opportunities across all their platforms, Reddit, Discord, Telegram, X, formerly Twitter.
Okay.
They mention building on existing systems they have, like a goated hierarchy ranking system and something called the goated social DAO they launched previously.
Right.
And explicitly linking participation in these activities to rewards.
So trying to make engagement fun, maybe a bit gamified, and rewarding the active contributor.
Precisely. And then fundamental to building with the community is DAO-based governance. They just reiterate that the community will have a direct say in shaping the network's future
Hmm.
through submitting proposals, voting on key strategic decisions, technical upgrades, all of that.
Giving the community real agency, real influence over the direction.
Yes. And they're also putting a heavy focus on education.
Oh.
Yeah, planning new programs, maybe even certifications to help community members become like experts on DePIN and AI specifically within the IoTeX ecosystem.
Okay.
And they're exploring structured ambassadorship programs too to help foster regional growth and education efforts led by the community itself.
So empowering the community not just to vote, but to actually teach, build, and spread the word.
Right. And alongside that, maintaining open and honest communication is stated as a priority, promising regular updates, frequent AMAs, direct access to the core team.
Good communication is always key.
Always. And finally, implementing mechanisms for rewards for contribution. Basically, finding ways to provide exclusive rewards for things like staking, active participation in governance, and maybe submitting valuable ideas or suggestions that help the ecosystem grow.
Okay, so it sounds like a really concerted effort to cultivate a community that isn't just, passively holding tokens,
Right.
but is an active participant,
Yeah.
maybe a builder, an educator, and definitely a decision maker in the network's future.
That level of community engagement, it really is foundational for long-term sustainability and achieving genuine decentralization. These initiatives, taken together, seem designed to empower the community on multiple levels,
Yeah.
turning them into real stakeholders who are invested in the network's success and governance. Hashtag outro.
So to wrap up this deep dive into IoTex's 2025 strategic vision, based on the source material we looked at, we've seen a project betting really big on this convergence of DePIN and AI.
Definitely placing a big bet.
They clearly see 2025 as this crucial year for it all, aiming to become, well, the foundational layer for it. We unpacked their plan through those 4 key initiatives, building the QuickSilver framework to actually bridge AI and DePIN data,
Right, the technical bridge.
launching that really comprehensive push into the strategic U.S. market,
The geographic focus.
establishing that unique DePIN plus AI assets reserve,
The financial backing and ecosystem support.
and fundamentally empowering their community
Yeah.
through all those different programs and governance.
Yeah, the community piece tying it all together. The overarching goal seems crystal clear from the source. Build the necessary infrastructure for the next generation of real-world AI applications.
Right.
Applications powered by decentralized physical networks that provide that crucial, verifiable, real-time data.
And, the source makes a good point that this whole space, this intersection, it needs a lot of different skills.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether you're interested in like AI development or building and deploying the actual hardware, the sensors and devices, or even just thinking like an entrepreneur spotting new business models here.
Yeah.
There seems to be a role for lots of different people in this evolving ecosystem.
It's definitely a complex puzzle, right? Bringing all those pieces, the tech, the hardware, the community, the business models, bringing them all together, that's the real challenge.
Exactly. And just thinking about the potential described here, AI being able to actually sense and interact with the physical world using this crowdsourced, verifiable data, it really makes you consider how much of our daily lives this could eventually touch.
It's not just about, slightly smarter devices anymore. It feels like a potential fundamental shift in how digital intelligence interacts with our physical reality.
It really does. So as you, the listener, think about this vision, given the potential for AI to perceive and act in the physical world via DePIN data, what are the most exciting or maybe the most challenging or even concerning future applications that jump into your mind? How could this convergence fundamentally change things you interact with every single day? It's definitely a concept that gives you a lot to ponder.